Well, if he does, that means I'll be off the hook potentially.
Well, he was there a minute ago, but now his name's not showing up in one of the boxes.
He thought the plane would just be landing when he.
Okay, well, that's why I didn't expect him to show up, but unless I'm mistaken, he was there a moment ago.
He was there a moment ago.
Thank you. I guess, Councilor Miller, in case you are running it at the beginning, I'll just, if you'll allow me to announce that the work session is canceled before the agenda is approved, please.
Sounds good. I think I got 6 o'clock. How about you, Carol?
Yep.
I've got 6. Go ahead.
All right. I will call the September 21st, 2020 City Council meeting to order. Due to the COVID-19 concerns and social distancing recommendations, this meeting will be open to the public by electronic means only. Iowa Code Section 21.8 outlines the guidelines to hold an electronic meeting when there are valid concerns that an in-person meeting is impossible or impractical. This meeting can also be accessed on TV Mediacom channel 117.2 and by visiting the City of Webster City Facebook page, where it will be live streamed at https://www.facebook.com City of Webster City. The video will also be posted to our YouTube channel. Roll call vote, or roll call.
Okay. Caitlin Hartman.
Here.
John Hawkins.
Yeah.
Matt McKinney.
Here.
Brian Miller.
Here.
Logan Welch.
Here.
Motion on approval of agenda.
I'd like to remind everyone, if you were not notified, the work session that was scheduled for tonight on the radio and communications will be canceled and rescheduled at a future council meeting.
Thank you, Jeff. Now motion on approval of agenda.
I move to approve. John.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Same sign. All right, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Flag.
United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Section A is petitions, communications, and requests. This is the time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a matter not on the agenda. Except in the cases of an emergency, the city council will not take action at this meeting, but may ask the city staff to research the matter or have the matter placed on the agenda for the future meeting. Nobody in the crowd, so anybody, anything?
I do, Brian. If I could steal just a minute of this meeting, I wanted to introduce everybody, city staff, city council, but most importantly, the community she belongs to, Webster City, to Gwendolyn Adria Welch. And she
beautiful name.
was born last week, and we're really proud of her. And we thought we'd show off dressing up for the first time under COVID, you know. So anyway, this is her, and I'm giving her back to mom.
All right, very
Okay.
cool.
That's the best ever.
Very good.
All right.
Just to
Section
remind,
B.
or you might want to remind everybody about the water plant is going to stop softening water next, what is it, later this week, isn't it, Jeff?
It's in October.
Yeah, till the beginning of October sometime, yeah. I think the 27th, wasn't it? So.
I want to say, yeah, like from the 14th to the 27th, something like that.
Okay.
All right. We got section B, minutes and claims. The following items have been deemed to be non-controversial routine actions to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or a member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from the list, it will be considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Do you guys want to take these collectively?
Move to do them collectively. It's John.
I got to read them, don't I, Carol?
Yeah.
Sorry. Minutes of September 8th, 2020. Resolution on payroll for the period ending September 12th, 2020, and paid on September 18th, 2020. The resolution on bills and the funds list. Now I call for a motion.
Move to approve collectively.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right. Section C is general agenda. Item 1 on the agenda is motion on Planning and Zoning Commission minutes of September 13, 2020. Call for a motion.
So moved. This is Logan.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Carol, are you okay with me doing all this in favor, or you want me to roll call?
No, that's fine.
All right, thank you. All right, item 2 on the agenda is motion on request from the American Legion Post 191, Iowa Chapter Avenue of Flags to make improvements at the city-owned building 800 Ohio Street, which would include 7 new flags around the benches and a brick walkway from Ohio Street to the benches. Is Lynn Jaycox on here?
Lynn is not. He called me. He was not able to participate tonight. I may be able to answer some of the questions if you have any. If not, he would be willing to come to a meeting in the future if you wish to table it.
I mean, basically, they're just connecting the walkway to the area where they have the monuments, correct?
And they're adding a couple of flagpoles. They're moving the main flagpole that has the U.S. flag. When they originally sited it, they forgot about when it goes to half staff, it rubs up against the building. So that one's going to get moved, and there was 1 or 2 additional flagpoles that's going to be added.
All right. I'll call for a motion.
I move to approve.
Second. This
Second.
is Logan.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Item 3 on the agenda is request from Recreation and Public Grounds Assistant Director to proceed with addition of a basketball court for Weirheim Park, which includes transfer of $15,000 in CIP funds from tiling project to basketball court project. Approval of adding change order to Fort Dodge Asphalt contract for asphalting of the area, and approval of purchase of goal setter basketball hoops. Larry or Brianne, are you available?
Yes, I am. So we currently have $15,000 from the 2019-2020 fiscal year and the 2020 to 2021 fiscal year in the CIP for tiling at Graceland Cemetery. I have sent out tiling bids twice this year in the off season for tilers, and I was not able to get any response back. So what I'm thinking is that the amount of money is not enough to entice a tiler to come into the cemetery. So what I would like to do is contact a tiling company, have them come to the cemetery and tell me exactly what I need. I want to show them my ultimate problem areas, and I would like them to draw up and create an estimate so that I can put that later into the CIP for the approximate cost to get the entire project done to entice a tiler to come. So what I would like to do right now is take that $15,000 that I've not had anybody be able to bid on and transfer that to the Weirheim Park basketball court project. This project came to us at the beginning of this year. A lot of kids and families in the Weirheim Park neighborhood have requested a basketball court. So with this money, we would be able to purchase asphalt and goal setter basketball court or basketball hoops. We would use asphalt millings from street department as the sub base, have that compacted, and then we would submit a change order to the 2020 to 2021 asphalt street project for them to come in. The basketball court would be 75 feet long by 50 feet wide, It would be the exact same size as the East Twin Park basketball court. I did talk to Dodie, and she did give me the approval to change this in the CIP. I'm not saying that we have to spend all of this money on the project, because originally we had talked to the kids and parents in that area for them to apply for an enhanced Hamilton County grant or do fundraising. So, I mean, maybe they want to pay for a portion of the basketball hoops or something like that. But I guess right now I am just asking for approval to change those funds and to submit that change order and to purchase the basketball hoops. Does anybody have any questions?
Or just for the people that don't know where that is, this is up south side of Webster City, correct?
Yes, so Wareheim Park is right against Fair Meadow, in between Cayman Drive and North Terrace Drive.
Yeah.
And I believe there is a map attached. We have two different locations that could be possibilities for the location of the basketball court, but we would decide that when we go out and take a look at the grade of the land and get it surveyed to see which would be the best option for water flow and how much we would have to add for soil, things like that. So.
All right, does anyone have any questions? How about I call for a motion then?
I move to approve. Logan.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes.
Thank you.
4 on the, you bet, thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is discuss the hotel motel tax funding allocation for the Chamber of Commerce. I call on Lindsay Henderson.
Okay, good evening. So for some time now, since last year, we haven't had a hotel motel meeting with the committee since last fall with the fall hotel motel grant round. Because of COVID, we did not have one in the spring, and we don't expect to have one this fall, another grant round this fall. But starting way back early, I think it was last summer or last fall, I had Zach do some checking into our hotel motel ordinance and what the state requirements are as to how we can distribute funds. And really, as long at the state level, as long as 50%, a minimum of 50% is spent on tourism, attractions, and activities, and those sort of related entertainment things. The rest of that is pretty flexible. A lot of communities, we've pulled up some comparison ones, do give some automatic portion to their Chamber of Commerce or their Convention of Visitors Bureau if they have one of those. It's actually far more common to give some or all of it to that type of organization than it is to grant out hotel motel funds in their entirety. One thing we've come up with the Chamber, as you all well know, that it's almost like an assumption, and rightly so, that that's a purposeful good use of hotel motel funds. But with the turnover of chamber directors, the learning curve of putting together the hotel motel application and all of that, it takes time away from other efforts, and it also doesn't give the chamber any sort of known budget to work with. And so I have discussed with the committee, and I've just recently got their input from email again, but we wanted to bring it to council for discussion before any sort of formal recommendation made by the committee as to going ahead and setting aside annually an amount for the chamber. Two options that we had discussed with the committee was to either do it as a percentage of the annual revenue or as a fixed amount based on an average from recent years, recent grant years. The upside to the fixed amount is that the chamber knows exactly what they're getting. But on the downside, like it is this year with COVID, we're seeing very small numbers come in for those quarterly payments. So the chamber might get, or in that case would get, the lion's share of what's even available leaving less available for other grants. But if you do it as a percentage, like many communities do that I've seen, then they don't really know from year to year what they have to work with. And so I just wanted to know, first of all, are you in support, council, of saying, and you don't, obviously nothing formal tonight as a decision, but are you in support of the idea of just having it be assumed that the chamber gets amount of money each year so that they're not having to compete with the others, because they are the closest thing we have to a tourism bureau, and types of activities they take certainly fall underneath the intent of the hotel motel tax. And then if so, how do you feel about whether it would be a fixed amount or a percentage?
What if
I just
we
wanted to open it up to
did,
discussion.
So
as
my,
one of the ideas, you know, just kind of, again, thinking about this a little bit before the meeting, is if it would help them to budget knowing that they're going to get a certain amount. But a couple negatives of that I was thinking is, well, what if it dips down, like say a couple really big projects came through and now the slush fund, if you will, or the amount that it's actually in that account dips below a certain level and there's not enough to backfill it, there could be potentially them taking it all, you know, the next year. So what if we did something like some salespeople are kind of, you know, incentivized on where we give them a small percentage or a small fixed a small fixed amount every year, and then they can apply for more if they have special requests or special needs for extra money, but it's a smaller amount. Therefore, if they want more, they come ask for it still, but it's not going to be a huge percentage of whatever we have in there.
Yeah, that's an option I hadn't actually considered.
so just playing devil's advocate here, yes, they do a lot of our tourism, but there are other entities in Webster City that do a large amount of tourism also. How would we stop them from having the same opportunity, or calling us out on the fact that we're giving that opportunity to the chamber? And then regarding the percentage or the fixed amount we give them, I'd rather see some kind of constructing it backwards to see what your expenses are, so we have some place to start, like a minimum you need in a year. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I should rephrase. There's a difference between a tourist attraction, or like a venue that has tourists, you know, brings tourists, versus an entity whose sole purpose is to promote all the community's tourism attractions and things. And that's the difference between the chamber and I think and some of the other organizations you're thinking of. So they are the community marketing tool.
Hasn't it been, you know, they've been getting about $26,000 a year since I've been on council, and they seem to every year it's pretty well just a nod and they get it. It never seems to be challenged at any time.
Right. So yeah, it's been about 27,000 pretty consistently for the past few years here. And even, you know, there was that instance where they were late and the council still approved kind of dipping into the leftover amount to go ahead and fund them, because it's agreed upon that, like in most places, it is a, you know, one of those decisively purpose, you know, entities that the hotel motel tax is meant to serve. So so that, and then that's what raised the question. It's like, if we're just going to make sure they get funding every year, then why put all that energy into their application? It's a little bit of a class of its own compared to some of the other grants.
I like that idea because, you know, again, it's pretty much a given. And I know some of the community that might be hearing this are like, well, you don't even ask why they're going to use it. But, you know, you're right, Lindsay. They're really are our marketing department for Webster City when it comes to tourism and promotion of business. So I get that completely. However, I would like to see, if we did go down this path, a little bit of oversight still, where it's kind of allocated for them, but the hotel motel grant board and the city council can still veto it at any time without explanation. So we still kind of have that, hey, it's not a guaranteed, but it's most likely.
Right. And my expectation too would be that they would have to report out to you annually. So And you could even have it where they kind of have to have a planned budget at the start of that year and then report out onto their actuals at the end of the year. So there would at least still be that level of accountability.
Cool.
I think that's the route. I would prefer that we see it go to save them the time of the application, is just have some sort of a, this is what we plan to use it for this year. And then at the end of the year reporting, just like you said, did they spend the money on what they said they were going to?
Right. And then Logan, to your earlier point, you know, we could also put in writing or something that a certain amount is held back for, you know, unknown opportunities like a RAGBRAI or something like that, you know, in the past.
Yeah.
So that, you know, there's never draw down for granting past this dollar amount or something like that. So
Yeah.
we've done that sort of informally, but I mean, if we're going to kind of dip into this and put some more language around hotel motel and where it goes, then there's an opportunity to kind of look at that sort of thing as well.
Cool.
Okay, any other comments that I can take back to the committee?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so so, I mean, I know we can't really make any sort of formal agreement, but what I'm hearing generally is that you would support some idea of an automatic payment to chamber with stipulations that they do still have that reporting accountability.
Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
that's what I would say based on what is laid out. We'd entertain it, right?
Yep.
See this?
All right, thank you. I'll take that to the committee.
All righty. Are we on item 5?
Yes.
Number 5.
All right. Item 5 on the agenda is motion on a request from the Community Vitality Director on a purchase of wayfinding signs. Lindsay, you're up to get bat again.
All right. So after last year, when we had the university partnership, one of the projects, one of the kind of the late second semester projects was working with the GIS students there at the University of Iowa. We knew when we did the branding, we were going to need to update our wayfinding signs and our park signs. They were showing their wear, you know, we're fading and the reflective materials wearing and that sort of thing, and we needed the new branding on it. So we had them take a look at the wayfinding signs that were in existence and kind of research best practices and figure out, you know, where are signs located, or are those the best places for them? As the subject matter, you know, is it calling things out in the best manner possible? Can we streamline our wayfinding at all? And so they put together kind of a map and some ideas of where the wayfinding could be located or relocated. And then from there, I got together with the street department with Brandon and Zach, myself and Darcy for branding purposes, and really put down to pencil exactly where the signs would go and what content would be on them and what they would look like. And here, a couple months ago, the street department went ahead and pulled down the signs. They have a long history of working with the Iowa prison industries. There's not a lot of competing vendors, and certainly not at the price of the prison industry. So that's where they usually get their signage. So Zach Williams took our list of where we want the signs and the content to the prison industries to get an estimate, cost estimate. So that's the documents that you've been provided with today. We wanted to call out a difference between what we consider to be like attraction amenities versus just more utility directions. So you'll see that there's what we call the badge signs. Those are for things like pointing out the airport, the hospital, the schools. Those are down below. And then on the upper or the larger sign would be your more community attractions. And we've called out some things that have not previously been called out on our wayfinding. We've updated things that were inaccurate anymore. Like we no longer point people to go to 7B Ranch and things like that. The cost did go up. We had met with Dodie early. We had planned already, had budgeted to pull $20,000 out of the CED reserve, out of the general fund reserve, and to pay for this. But there's new standards from DOT for the lettering size, and so we refaced everything we could possibly use, but we did end up having to purchase some new signs to accommodate the content. So that's where the price is up. But we've been told that there's enough funds to cover it. So we're asking for permission to sole source and order these signs from the Iowa Prison Industries.
And what was the difference in price?
It went from
before?
20 to 34 and some change. I don't have it right in front of me at the moment. That was just our estimated price to begin with, you know, just not with their estimate or anything, just a ballpark of what the street department thought it would be.
Okay. All right, does anyone have any other questions?
And I don't know if you've driven out of town and back in again today at all, but we did have some work done on the entrance signs. We were having issues with legibility, the way the lettering was placed. And so we've removed the metal components from the WC and the Webster City text and had that panel vinyl wrapped on all the signs. It came out of my budget. I have some money that isn't going to be spent because of COVID canceling so many things. So it was under the 10,000, but just, I think it looks really good. I'm happy with it. So hopefully you see it soon.
Saw Ray and Diane working on it.
Yeah, so just, I think it'll look more polished and it's definitely easier to see, so.
If nobody has questions, I call for a motion.
So moved. This is Logan.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes.
Thank you.
You bet, thank you. Item 6 on the agenda is resolution approving the change order number 1 to the 713 2nd Street facade renovation project with Westbrook Construction, Urbandale, Iowa, in the amount of $14,600. Lindsay, you again.
This is just on the west side there, as they've done a great job. I mean, they're making fast progress. Obviously, this has been an ideal construction season from the perspective of weather. So they're ahead of schedule, but as they were getting into the tuck pointing on the west side of the building, it just started falling down. I mean, it just, the brick was very badly crumbled. And so the architect's original estimate wasn't quite enough. And so we anticipated that this was going to be possible. And we had a price per unit for additional brick. So this extra amount is for the brick. We still have enough funds and it'll still be covered from CDBG. We anticipated overruns on something like this. You always do. So it's just the additional brick that had to be ordered to complete that west side of that facade.
All right, thank you, Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
I call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. This is Logan.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 7 on the agenda is the motion on a request from the Information Technology Director to seek quotes for a larger virtual host server to accommodate new civic system software along with other data, with approval to purchase from the lowest preferred vendor. Kirby, are you online?
Yes, sir. Yes, I am.
All right, tell us about it.
Okay, in the past, when I first came aboard here about 10 years ago, we didn't use up that much data, but now everybody's gotten on board with this electronic data, storing everything on the servers and such, which is fantastic, to include pictures, more diagrams of things, more maps, et cetera, et cetera. So our database usage has just gone tremendous. And so in order to try to future broadcast this or look forward to this, what I did is I took out what we currently have right now, which is just shy of 2 terabytes, and looking at a system that's going to be just a little bit over 6 terabytes. Because the current system, the server that the Civic system is on and such, we're running out of space and it's 5 years old already. So we're kind of at that point to where we need to make something happen now. And the last couple of years, I've given up the server money to help other functions. And now I'm at that point where I got to do something now. So the reason for the bigger one is to hopefully get it to last us 4 to 5 years without having to do any changes. And then once I get that virtual host server working, then I can take the other ones that I've got and combine them to get them as big as what the new one is. And then I'll be able to do what's called replication between them. And we'll put one server over there at Fuller Hall and one will be kept here at City Hall. And so we'll have replication. So if something happens to the main one, I can have something running in 15 to 30 minutes on the other one, and then they'll all be backed up also. So we'll have a lot of redundancy built into the project. And
All right, Kirby. So is this budgeted for then?
I budgeted 11,500 for it, and it's going to be closer to 18,000 to get that bigger server. And that's why I'm coming before the council on it. The extra amount that I will need, I don't have that right in front of me. I think it's around 6,800. I will take out of my operating budget.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Kirby? All right. Can I call for a motion?
So moved. This is Logan.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 8 on the agenda is resolution approving the official city street financial report. Doty, it's your time to shine.
Just to submit to the DOT. And if we do not, they take away our road use tax, which we don't want that. Last year we got over $1 million. So I have questions. Hello?
Yep, I hear you.
Hear you.
Does anyone have any questions for Doty?
No.
All right, I call for a motion.
So moved. It's John.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 And all those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. John, I think unless someone starts with an Australian accent, you don't have to tell us who you are.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure. All right. Item 9 on the agenda is resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter in a settlement agreement between the city of Webster City and the trustee of the Vera Blue Farms Creditor Trust. Zach, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, real quick, I'll hit on it, and then if Doty's got anything else, she can jump in. But essentially, the city, for the 90 days prior to when Vera Blue filed for bankruptcy back in 2018, July, August, September, the city was paid $242,000 roughly for their utilities, et cetera. The penalties for when they were going over their wastewater treatment agreement limits, et cetera. Anyway, it was considered preferential treatment is what they called it, because any amount paid within 90 days of a bankruptcy is, if one person's getting paid while another's not, they consider it preferential. So then they challenged us on it. We hired an attorney out of Cedar Rapids by the name of Wes Usinga. Wes has been great to work with, and he's battled with us through this whole process. And they ended up dropping everything except for $20,000, which was related to they disputed they disputed a test that we had taken, a sample, and it was subject to, like, I don't remember, $40,000 in penalties because of the bad test. They disputed it, and in the meantime, we made them pay us $20,000 to not shut them off. And so they're saying that because of the threat of being shut off, it's not considered in the ordinary course of business. So they're asking for that $20,000 back. Wes, our attorney, says we should take the $20,000 settlement and pay them back because it takes the other $222,000 that they're also challenged us on. It takes that off the table, so it's a pretty good deal. Plus, he said in the cost of fighting it, we're going to spend more than $20,000 anyway. So it's a good idea just to take it, and save the other $222,000.
So Zach, if I'm reading this right, the $20,000, if we were to accept this settlement, the $20,000's already been paid back in August 30th, right? So it's money we just wouldn't pay them back.
We have to pay them back. Yeah, they gave it to us August 30th, whatever, 2018 or whatever it was.
So we're not gonna have to give them $20,000, but we're walking away from 182. And I know those numbers seem weird, but reason I'm asking is, this Vero Blue stuff has soaked up so much time with city staff, affected so many, jobs, both positively at first, then negatively. You know, it was this big, kind of exciting thing. A lot of people invested at least their mind share in and made some decisions to work there too. And I know we're trying to get as much as we can, and I appreciate your efforts and the bankruptcy attorney efforts as well. But what kind of example does this set for other large industrial users that may be moving in or may change ownership? I don't think any industrial customers we have now would ever pull this, but what example does it set for large debt to the city and our, I guess, concern to get it back? So I guess, long story short, two questions. One, we're technically walking away at the difference of 162,000 and change. And two, do you feel that making a settlement like this would affect future settlements?
So 2 points, I guess, of clarification. One is that we would be paying them the 20 grand back. We would have to write them a check for 20. So they've paid us 242 3 months prior. The 3 months prior to them filing for bankruptcy, they paid us 242 grand. The 180 is post bankruptcy filing that we tried to collect on, which obviously is going to get discharged. We understand that. So that's washed. We can't really argue that. This is related to the first payments. Second point I would make, though, is we're not paying Vero Blue. We're paying the creditors trust. So everybody else that's been stiffed money by this entity is essentially now coming back, and they're trying to get as much as they can, 10 cents on the dollar, let's say. And so they hired a trustee, a creditor trust, to come in and try to collect that. That's who we're battling against. So they're saying the city should have never got 242 grand prior to the filing because we got treated differently than everybody else. So you need to pay that back. Now they're saying, okay, if you pay us 20, we won't fight you any longer on this. What that does, and that 20 then goes and gets split among everybody that's still owed money.
Sure.
So we're not paying Vero Blue.
Okay, no, I appreciate the explanation there, which makes it a little bit easier. Knowing, you being in some of these meetings and privy to some of this information, how many creditors are local to Webster City?
Quite a few.
Few,
mowing
okay.
people were out, electricians were out, plumbers, I mean, you name it. Every type of essential entity in town that had any sort of trade was out.
Well, I appreciate that, because at initial read, when I first read this Thursday or Friday, I'm like, wait a minute, and I should have picked up the phone and called you, but I'm glad you're explaining this, so the public can hear it too, not just me. So the fact that it's going into a creditor's trust, I guess I read that. I guess I just didn't put that together, but I just didn't know what that meant, and two.
Logan, I was in the same place. I understood it the way you did, I believe.
Yeah, I get it. It's super, trust me, it's confusing. And but yeah, Vero Blue's out of the picture. They're not getting any of this. Any of those guys that we dealt with before, they're all gone. So it's not with anything to do with that.
That's great. And again, I appreciate the explanation. And would this, and this is just maybe even a footnote, the money that we may have to pay back if they were to fight it, and they're saying they won't, you're saying that's because we treated them differently. What is their claim there? And I think you explained it in your opening statement there, but I've just, for clarification, what are they saying again?
Okay, so the city essentially, for prior to them filing for bankruptcy, the city was challenging them on their wastewater use. And the city kept coming to them and saying, you're violating your agreement, you owe us your rate plus a penalty. So remember, what they were using for sewer is very different than what they were being penalized. They were being penalized thousands of dollars every month because they kept violating the agreement. So I know it seems like we're out of a lot of money, but we're really not, because a lot of that is penalty. So a lot of that was us punishing them and telling them to knock it off. So we went through the whole process of trying to get them to knock it off. You got to go through all these channels to get it done because you're essentially shutting them down from business. In the meantime, they filed for bankruptcy. As part of that, any payment 90 days prior to bankruptcy can be treated as preferential, which means that they're saying, why did you didn't pay any of your other people that owed you money, but you paid the city. Well, the reason they paid the city is because if they didn't pay their bill, they're getting shut off. They didn't have a choice, because you don't pay your bills, the city has You don't pay your electrician. The electrician is going to be upset, but there's not a lot they can do as far as other than going through the court. You don't pay your city bill, we shut you off. They couldn't afford that, so they kept paying us. And so then that's where these creditors are coming in and saying, well, you guys got paid and not a lot of people did. And so we're a little different though. So.
Sure.
From
No, I
my
understand.
perspective, I think it makes the most sense from a risk standpoint. Not that I want to pay any money back, but we could be looking at paying the entire amount back plus attorney's fees just to fight.
Yeah. And the $20,000 that's being paid back was a penalty. It wasn't because if they didn't break the rules, if they just played along and they used what they were supposed to use for wastewater, for example, they wouldn't have had that penalty to pay anyway. So it's not like we're not like we're out of money for that aspect. It was a penalty that's being paid back.
Very good.
All right, thank you for that explanation. I definitely didn't understand it on reading it the way you explained it. So, I need a call for a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes, and I am on to item 10 on the agenda. Resolution awarding contract for the 2020 Webster City Tuck Pointing Project, Webster City, Iowa, to Kraus Brothers Masonry in the amount of $87,000. Matt, are you online?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about this, please?
It's tuck pointing for 3 different locations within the city. The first one being the municipal building itself, the second one being the water plant, and the third one being Kendall Young Park and the entrance wall that's out there.
All right. Anybody have any questions on that? All right, I call for a motion.
So moved. This is Logan.
A second, man.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 11 on the agenda is resolution awarding contract for the 2021 asphalt joint crack sealing project to Fort Dodge Asphalt Company in the amount of $86,000 and 86 cents. No, 86,086. Matt?
It's a pretty straightforward project. We do asphalt every other year is what we typically try to get done. The biggest part of this is going to be Edgewood Drive. We're also doing a parking lot, doing the street in front of the high school. And we've also talked with Brianna as far as doing some more at Heartland or Graceland Cemetery. And we've also got the estimates from Fort Dodge Asphalt as far as the basketball court as she was talking about earlier as well. So you'll most likely be getting those as change orders way down the road from here, but we'd like to move forward with just getting the other areas taken care of.
Hey, Matt, how much of that Edgewood, like how many, I know we talked about this last meeting and approved moving forward with it, or maybe the meeting before that, but how many blocks, feet, whatever, is it the entire span of Edgewood or a certain section?
I'm pretty sure it goes from where the concrete ends there just off of Superior Street and it goes all the way down to Oakwood.
Yeah,
so
and
pretty much the whole thing.
That's what I was fearing too. So like after thinking about it, you know, and kind of going back in history a little bit and some of my notes, when we talked about that development out there and, you know, the access road by the hospital and that 3-story apartment building, and we talked to a lot of the community members. And again, I know we're kind of down the path. This is kind of where we're going, but what are the plans on a more permanent fix for Edgewood, knowing that there may be more traffic now on there? Or is there any? Or should
Are we talking infrastructure or what are we talking about?
Road, yeah, sorry.
Okay, the road base itself should be fairly decent. I'm pretty sure they've done some core drilling to see what's there. So unless there's infrastructure underneath that, this should be a pretty good fix and it should last quite a while.
Sure. No, I mean, and again, I want to give them a nice, clean service, but I think there was discussion, at least in my notes, just looking back, is like curb and gutter, you know, and stuff like that, and stormwater runoff, management through the curb. Some of those, I don't necessarily think they're promises, but there are definitely things that, yeah, we'll definitely have to look into that if this development comes to be. So anyway, I just didn't want to contradict anything I may have alluded to looking into in the future by just asphalting over it. But I know it's the most cost-effective way to give them a good surface. And if you and your background is saying the infrastructure underneath is solid and secure, and
well, most of the infrastructure isn't even underneath the road out there.
No, sorry.
It's in the parking.
What did you refer to it as? The base road or the
correct. The previous infrastructure that's been put in place when it used to be the state highway.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, just something to think of. I was going back and I'm pretty sure we told them we'd talk about possibly a curb, but anyway, maybe something to talk about at a different meeting or offline.
All right, thank you, Matt. Anyone else have any more questions? All right, I call for a motion.
So moved.
I'll second. This is Logan.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 12 on the agenda is motion to accept traffic committee's recommendation for 6 parking spaces on the east side of East Twin Park. I call on Matt again.
This was brought to us by Lindsay. Basically just a request to see if there was anything as far as the traffic committee and their purview of what would need to be affected, as far as if there's any motion or any amendments to the ordinances or anything like that was needed. We didn't think there was. And since it's going to be off-street parking anyways, we just did a quick motion and sent it through and sent it to you guys.
All right.
Was there a map at one time? Like, I think,
yes,
like where these are going, like in that presentation Lindsay did about the equipment and stuff, is it going to be basically where
it's basically on the east side, right there by the old restrooms in that area.
Oh, sure.
It would be actually to the north side of the restrooms is what we had in the map.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Matt. Can I call for a motion?
So moved. This is Logan.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 13 on the agenda is resolution approving change order number 1 to the 2020 Wilson Brewer Grounds Improvement Project Section 1 with Habhab Construction, Webster City, Iowa, in the amount of $3,000. Matt, can you tell us about this?
I'm not real familiar with this project. I know there was some issues with the connections, but I'm not 100% sure on what the specific change order is.
When I talked to Ken about it, it sounds like one of the entrances needed to be brought up to ADA compliance.
Okay, isn't that the school had to be brought up?
It's the school and the courthouse both had
Okay.
work done to them, but the back of the courthouse had repairs done to it as well.
There was an issue with getting the concrete next to it, and there was some extra flashing, and the grade had to be raised. I did know about that, but I didn't know that was part of this change order.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Matt and Carol.
Jeff was volunteered most of his services for this project anyway, so.
All right, I call for a motion.
So moved. Logan.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Item 14 on the agenda is a resolution accepting a quick claim deed on behalf of Kevin L. Carlson, conveying property in Wilson, Funk and Co.'s addition to the city of Webster City, 1135 Division Street. Jeff, can you give us a hand with this?
I guess I can give you some
Or
quick.
Zach?
Yeah.
Okay, Zach.
Yep. So this is property at 1135 Division Street. If you're familiar with it or not, we were actually going to go after it for through the abandonment and process. It had like collapsed in on the inside, the ceiling and the floor, etc. It's a mess. I mean, at the end of the day, when we go through that whole process, our whole goal is to obtain title to it so we can tear it down. In this situation, the homeowner just said, "I'll quit claim it to you if you guys don't want, if you want to avoid the cost, having to go through the court process." In order to do so, I did a lien search on it. Title's good. There's no outstanding liens we need to be worried about. So it would be easier just to take a quick claim deed in this situation. Because at the end of the day, we're going to end up with it either way. This just avoids the cost, allows it to get tore down sooner rather than later.
I would add that I think part of the reason for the level of cooperation is how Mr. Simpson worked with Mr. Carlson. I think Corey deserves a lot of credit for doing a very good job of working with Mr. Carlson to accomplish this.
I agree. And it's not a house for rehab by any means. If you guys are, that was the next question.
All right, thank you guys. I call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 15 on the agenda is discussing the Halloween activities.
You have in your packet the draft that the COVID committee put together. It's our recommendation for the city's position. As you can see, we would have trick or treat or beggars night on the 31st between the hours of 5 and 7. But there would be there would be no other formal city activities for that night. Does anyone have any questions?
The chamber was going to have, they were talking about maybe doing something on Friday night for the businesses that may be open for it.
I heard that, but I don't know that any decision was made. I know they decided not to do Saturday night because a number of downtown businesses are not going to be open.
Well, I do know that the hospital is going to do an event on the 29th, a drive-through type setup. So I'm open to whatever we can do to keep things as normal as possible. If downtown businesses want to do something, I'm assuming they'll just be allowed, correct?
Sure.
But my thought was if we, there's no reason, I think Friday's a school day. It was not going to be a school day. It's a day off for school. So it wouldn't matter unless there's something on, unless there's a game on that night. Carol, did you find out if there's anything on at the high school that night, on the Friday night?
I did not find out if the playoffs would be going on or not.
That's all. I only just thought, if we were going to have it, maybe we should have it in line with the chamber. But then if there's not many businesses, I guess it doesn't really matter much, but at least that way the kids would only have to get dressed up one night to do their trick-or-treating.
My memory as a parent that did these is the kids wanted to do it on Halloween, so that sides with that.
Yeah.
I think staff would have no problem moving it to Friday if that's what the council wishes to do.
I would prefer Halloween.
Yeah, no confusion then.
That's fine.
Okay.
Are you comfortable with the statement as drafted?
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll put it out. Do we need a
All right,
motion
thank
to
you.
approve it? Do I need a motion to approve it or not?
No.
Good.
I don't think.
Just discussion.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I don't think.
All right, item 16. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks. Item 16 on the agenda is Fuller Hall proposed reopening plan. Larry? You're muted, Larry.
Mr. Flons?
Unmute.
Oh, my bad.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, hear me now?
Yep.
I can.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so we with the COVID committee and then some of the staff members here at Fuller Hall, we just put a plan in place for when we decide to open up to let children back into the recreation center. And we kind of tossed around some different ideas, but this is what we came up with. So, the busiest time is typically after school, 3:30 to 5. So from after school on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we would reserve it for the 7th grade through 12th grade students. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it would be 2nd grade through 6th grade. And with our CDC requirements, we can allow 40 people in the building with, the social distancing and that. And then on evenings, weekday evenings, it would be 7th through 12th grade students only. Fridays and Saturdays, Friday evenings and Saturday, anytime would be anybody up to 40 people. So that's just something we came up with, to try to get different groups. And that's just what we come up with. So I don't know how anybody feels about that, but.
Does anyone have any questions about the plan as the committee put together?
No, I think it looks good. I'm glad there's a plan to get younger kids in there.
We're going to continue to evaluate. Actually, at the Rotary today, Dr. Ross gave a presentation on the schools reopening. And for the time being, there's not been the increase in confirmed cases. When we talked to Shelby, she'd like to give us another couple of weeks before we reevaluate to make sure that there won't be a bump from the school opening.
Sounds good.
Great. I want to thank the COVID committee again. This took a lot of work, and Larry and Brianne, and they put a lot of time and effort into it, and the committee went over it. We think it's a very prudent way to move forward.
Yeah, thank you guys for all the work you did on it. It's really appreciated.
No,
so our consensus is I approve. I'm assuming the consensus is we're all on board with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next section is D, reports, recommendations of officers, boards, and commissions. The following items have been deemed to be non-controversial routine actions to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or a member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from this list, it will be considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. And can we get these approved collectively? Oh, I got to read them again. Sorry. Motion to accept and place on file the city manager August reports, electric, wastewater, electric year-to-date, water year-to-date inspection. Motion to accept and place on file the police department August report. Number 3, motion to accept and place on file the fire department August report. I call for a motion.
I move to approve 1, 2, and 3 collectively.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Are there any council committee reports? And are there any other reports and recommendations? All right, next section is E, cleanup drop-off date, October 3rd or October 10th. Does anybody have any input on a date that is preferential? And Jeff, do you want to talk about the location we're kind of talking about?
Sure. Once you've determined the date, we did work with Mr. Kehoe, and if you're interested, we could hold the cleanup day actually at his facility. We would add him as an insured on our policy, on our liability policy at no cost to the city. As I laid out in the email, some of the advantages would be security. Once we're done, we can lock the gate. We don't have to worry about anybody dumping into the bins after we're gone. It's very convenient for him. He can then take what he can on Saturday, and what's not there he can take later on Monday. So he's willing to do it. If you're interested, we didn't move further with any more details until we wanted to find out from you if you were interested in this or not.
It sounds like a good idea to me. I don't see any negatives to it.
Anyone
How many
else?
volunteers are we assuming we're going to need? Not very many, right?
Yeah, we would suggest that the volunteers be limited to traffic control and trying to make sure that the residents are depositing their stuff in the appropriate dumpsters. But one of the big issues, we've talked to staff and we've looked at it quite extensively, and there's just no safe way for volunteers to load somebody else's stuff. And so that's going to be a problem, because I'm sure you're going to have some residents who don't feel like they can unload their material. But we just cannot find a safe way to do that.
Yeah, because it's going to take a little more. There's going to need some volunteers that are going to have to throw it in the bin, because the people won't get it up, won't get it stacked in enough. We'll end up with way too many bins filled up and nothing in them.
What if we encouraged, people who either can't unload them themselves or even load themselves to reach out to friends and family? Maybe have if people do want to volunteer, they volunteer as, hey, I got a truck, I'll go pick up some stuff out of your garage for you, no contact. I just want to make sure, anybody that is incapable, whether it be physical restraints or the lack thereof a means of transportation to get the waste there, has some type of avenue. So, and again, of course, being respectful of COVID safety precautions. So maybe we just encourage that, hey, you reach out to neighbors, friends, and family to take some stuff down there for you. And maybe tacked on to the point that there will be no volunteers to unload your stuff. So you may want to, think ahead a little bit on that and do it this way.
We also need to make it clear, I heard some rumors on Facebook, et cetera, that different pickups and whatnot. We just need to make it very clear that there's no pickup this year. There's no number to call. It's as it is because of the situation.
Once you've determined the date, I'm sorry, Counselor, once you've determined the date, we can flesh out the details more at the next council meeting. That won't give you a lot of extra time, but we can start getting that information out to the public.
To me, it's a coin flip. I don't care either date, so it's up to you. Anyone else have any input?
I would prefer the 10th, just from the standpoint of being able to put out the proper language to everyone with enough notice, so that we don't have people showing up expecting others to unload it.
I agree. I think we need that little bit of extra time.
More time.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm good with the 10th.
Our next meeting is October 5th, so that would be after the fact if we set it for the 3rd.
Yeah, I was going to say we probably should get stuff figured out before the next meeting.
Yeah, we can start working on language and send it out to you for your review before the meeting.
Yeah.
All right, so the 10th sounds good.
Yeah, can I just clarify? I have one question.
Sure.
So as far as like the not being able to help unload safely, if we're wearing gloves and masks and the people stay in their car, we can't help like an elderly person?
I think that's an individual decision that you certainly can. What I was talking about in terms of requiring staff to be there to handle that responsibility. We've tried so hard to make sure the staff doesn't interact and be infected with the pandemic. So I'm not saying
staff and any other volunteers, it would be on their own free will.
Exactly.
I would assume that we're not having staff there on the Saturday unless they volunteer.
And
right.
That was my point, but absolutely, Caitlin, I think if someone, you can do it safely and shoot most of the folks you probably know anyway. So the point was, I was talking about primarily staff would not be there to unload.
Gotcha.
All right, thank you very much.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I know I mentioned this to Jeff, would it be possible to still use bins from scrap processors and pull some of those in there as well, or are we just not going to allow that with this cleanup?
That would be up to Mr. Kehoe, I would think, also.
We can look into it, and I think Chris is willing to work with us if that's an important part of cleanup day.
Yeah, it is, and it'll be a matter to reach out to scrap processors. They said they were ready for whatever we want. They don't work on the Saturday, but that'll be actually better for us if it's up there in Chris's yard. So
okay, I'll reach out to him and see if we can work that out.
Yep.
And I did want to bring one more thing. I did receive a request for the homecoming parade this past week. I have notified the police department, fire department, and street department for them to put it on their calendars tentatively. However, I will not issue the permit and probably until the week of the parade, which the parade would be October 9th, just as a precautionary in case that does not go through as planned. But just giving you a heads up about that.
So
Yeah,
then
that
is
sounds great.
homecoming the 10th then?
It's the 9th.
So
Friday
the
the
game and
9th.
everything, okay. I just don't want that to affect everything Saturday if we do the 10th for the cleanup.
Yeah, I don't know how that would affect.
Nah.
It'd be good. There's like floats and stuff that need tore
Yep.
down.
All righty. Call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. I'll second. This is Logan.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry for all the in and
We
out.
are adjourned.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
sorry,
Commissioner
I'm not as
Burbank.
smooth as John. I do my best.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Good night.